On today's episode, I catch up with the nicest man in football, an ex-Crystal Palace legend, a winger from the 1990s, and now currently a pundit for Sky Sports. John Salako, off the top of my head, you've achieved promotions, won titles, played for England, scored important last-minute goals. You've won at Highbury, you've scored at Highbury, you've scored against Liverpool, Man United. You've played in FA Cup finals, you've set up goals in FA Cup finals. You've become a pundit, a coach. I'm looking for an electrician's mate to start on Monday. Do you think you're available?
I'll try anything, as long as I can play on the left-hand side. Do you know what? I was a centre forward when I was in the South East Counties youth team, and I can remember, Stevie Cottle came and asked me if I'd play on the left-hand side, and I literally said to him, "I'll play anywhere to play in the team. Just to get in that Palace side and get a shirt. But as long as you've got a Palace shirt, I'll come and play in your electricity side."
We'll swap out the high vis for a Palace shirt. I'm sure we'll get away with it. John, can you name all the managers that signed you for what club and the transfer fee?
Oh man, okay, so I signed for Stevie Cottle was a 16-year-old.
Correct.
And then I moved to Coventry. I think it was for 1.5 million, rising to 2 million for Ron Atkinson. And I can remember going to see Ron because I was going to sign for Newcastle. And there was the big hoo-ha, Kevin Keegan and Sir John Hall, and they were trying to sign Ginola, and I ended up at Coventry with Ron Atkinson, and very interesting manager. Absolutely loved him, great guy. That was a great time. 3 years in the Prem with Cov. Then I would have moved. Brief spell. I went on loan to Bolton with Colin Todd. That was a free, and then I would have moved on a free and signed for Kevin Keegan at Fulham. And I can't remember, but I think I moved on another free with Kirbishley to Charlton. Boo, Charlton.
Exactly. Well,
hated my time there, of course.
Of course, we wanted to focus on your time at the Valley. Happy New Year to everyone at Charlton, and mind the gap.
No, do you know what? I love it.
No, actually, they paid £200,000 for you.
Really?
They really did.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't remember that. Do you know what? That was an amazing time because when I went there. Kirbishley literally signed me really to give Sean Newton and John Robinson some competition, and they literally had the best 2-3 years of their lives. We got promotion. I think we won the championship that year. We stayed in the Premier League. I think finished in about 10th or something. Finished next season. I just couldn't get it looking. So Alan Pardew was at Reading with Martin Allen, and they came and took me to Reading. I went on loan initially. And then I ended up signing. I don't know if there was a fee. I can't even remember. I was just quite happy to sign for them.
Reading did pay £70,000.
No way. Where did I? That is crazy. I didn't even know that. I honestly. So I signed for Alan. That was a lovely time actually. Nice club. But I just wanted to play football. And Charlton were in the Premier League at the time. And Reading were in the First Division, and we got promoted. I think it was like Jamie Currington, Martin Butler, Phil Parkinson, good side. Matthew Upson came on loan that year. Nicky Shorey, I think people like Stevie Hunt and James Harper. Those names, I don't know if they
do.
And I'm trying to think if anyone came to Palace from that team, but sort of Kevin Doyle and Shane Long were youngsters on their way up, and so obviously Stevie Cottle came and was manager. Took over from Alan Pardew, and Reading kind of soared from there into the Premier League. So, yeah, good times. And then, God, where would I have gone? Reading, I had 1 year for Martin Allen at Brentford.
I've actually got here that you went on loan to Charlton very briefly, and Alan Kirbishley had you back.
No.
Did that not happen?
No, that didn't happen. I wouldn't have gone back. they could not. Do you know what? It's really weird because when I went to Charlton, we had such a lovely time, and I just wanted to play football. And to be fair, my main reason and thinking was that I had a couple of young children, and we just wanted to be in London, and I wanted to be at home. I wanted to be local. So obviously that was why I chose Fulham, and then obviously I ended up at Charlton, and Charlton really for me, where I lived in Kingswood in Surrey, it was just a few junctions round. Although I did get 9 points in that first 3 months I went there, you know, going round the M25 in on the A2. That A2 killed me. I just kept getting points. I was nearly banned.
I wonder how many points Brentford got in the same month.
It was probably, I got more points.
Have you ever sat in the huge TV gantry above the Arthur Wayne stand?
Yes, of course I have. I've sat there quite a few times because I would have worked for Sky for sort of 10, 12 years covering football, and I didn't do as many games as Sellers I'd love to have done, but I did a fair few up there, doing the Gillette Soccer games.
Who was the most inspirational football influence on your career?
Player?
Anybody. Who influenced you the most?
I would probably have to say Alan Smith. He picked me up as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, so he was my youth coach, and then he was my first team coach, first team manager. So we sort of grew up. Myself and Richard Shaw, we came through at the same time, and I suppose Gareth Southgate, Andy Woodman, Ricky Newman, that group of players came through. And so Smithy was very influential on a sort of more of a, you know, sort of a fatherly, you know, relationship, you know, sort of tactically, you know, we had some great coaches, David Kemp, Ian Evans, you know. We're some very, I mean, because what I think Stevie Coppell did really well, and Alan did well, is they had very good assistant managers, and very good coaches with them. You know, Wally Downs was a fantastic coach, he came at the time, and very influential. From a player point of view, it probably would have been Wrighty, really, Ian Wright, because when he came, he just brought something, his energy, his enthusiasm, his passion, his love of the game, his desire to work and to be a player. You know, it was, he just went, he took it somewhere that, and in a way he took us along with him. But we all sort of just, that squad, you know, I sort of spent time around Andy Gray, Jeff Thomas, you know, Ian Wright, Mark Bright, but we just all wanted to win, you know, and Ian epitomised that. He was one of those special guys that just brought an incredible amount of energy and enthusiasm every day at training. And he, you know, come on, you know, before training we'd be the first out there, and we'd be, you know, we'd play keep you uppy, or infectious. You know, yeah, infectious is the word. You know, he was an effervescent character. He was infectious in his love and his passion of the game, and he just lived and breathed it. And he took that into games. And one of the special things about Ian was that we could have a laugh without having to go at anyone. But he was one person that he did his own thing. You know, it'd be someone who'd come and say to you, "Do you want your shirt?" He said, "If you don't want it, I'll wear 2 shirts." You know, he'll do something like that. He just made you feel better about yourself and want it more. But you had to go and deliver, because, as many Palace fans will testify, they probably saw Ian and Mark tear a few stripes off me. They were absolutely ruthless, and they, you know, in a sense where they would say, I create the goals for them. You know, they scored goals. You know, I make the goals, me and Eddie, whoever played out there, George and Dar, or, you know, some of the youngsters. But, you know, they were that hungry and that competitive, and you know, they wanted to score.
Going back to the beginning of your career, 1988-89, that season saw Palace promoted to the old Division 1. You were on the cusp of the starting 11. Can you recall those days, that season, and the atmosphere around the place at the time? Yeah,
because it was changing, because, you know, I was talking about it, and I saw Jim Cannon the other day, and when I first came as a youngster, you know, you had sort of the Mickey Droys, Jimmy Cannons, Steve Ketteridge. You know, you had a lot of players, Sparrow, you know, just George Wood, and Stevie. The first thing Stevie did and had to do was to clear out a lot of the older guys and bring in some fresh new blood, and so it was very much a change in the face of it was changing. I was desperate to play. And I was knocking on Steve's door, you know, week in, week out, you know, wanting to play. And I can remember, you know, I said, well, if I can't play, I want to go on loan. And I think I went on loan at the beginning of that season to Swansea. And it was really funny, because Stevie said to me, because I can remember Steve calling me, and I said, right, if I'm not going to play, I want to go on loan. He said, right, okay, I'll see what I can do. I go, well, I'll find myself a club. I'll get my we'll find a club. So I was thinking London, you know, somewhere down the road. You could go and play a few games. And Steve called me back in a couple of days later. Said, right, I've got you a club, Swansea. I'm like, I'm not going to Swansea. Where is Swansea? and because Ian Evans had just gone there, and so obviously he'd rang Ian Evans. Ian Evans had probably said, is anyone I can take? And he probably said, yeah, you know, maybe give John a few games. I mean, they're in, I think it was League Two. It was a 3-4 hour drive away. It was like, and when I got down there, I mean, the place was ramshackled. It was, and Steve, I mean, Steve literally said to me that it's that or nothing. If you don't go there, you're not going anywhere. So I went down and played a few games, and it's arguably the best thing I did. I think Shawsey went to Hull. You just go and be around the game. And Chris Coleman was down there. There were so many good players. Tommy Hutchinson was an absolute legend. You know, an old school player. They had some wonderful players, Andy Legg and you know, Andy Melville. You know, some players that went on to play in the Premier League. I think he was at Fulham. So I went and played, and I played Cup Winners' Cup football because Swansea had won the Welsh Cup. Yeah. So things like that, I didn't even, and it was just magical. We went off to Panathinaikos, played there in the Olympic Stadium in front of 65,000 people, scored twice.
All whilst on loan.
Yeah, on loan.
Not even your parents' club.
Scored a few goals, and that really, you know, gave me a platform, because I think a lot of people sort of started paying attention then, and I did get a lot of attention, be it, I didn't quite realise till a few years later that I was made aware that Liverpool had come in, Spurs had come in, which obviously Steve didn't mention.
Is that? I want to just briefly touch on it. Is that around the time? Fast forwarding not too far into the future, we've obviously gone to Anfield and lost 9-0.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to touch on that because no one ever needs to remind me.
Do you know, I was playing in Panathinaikos, and the day of the game we'd come down and the lads were messing around and they were like laughing and joking. Said Palace got hammered 9-0 last night. I'm like, don't be silly. I thought they were messing around. So I can actually say it was such a weird feeling, but I was away with Swansea at the time, and you know, and that actually was the catalyst, because I think we went out and bought Nigel Martin, and I think we brought in Eric Young and Andy Thorne, and he called Richard Shaw and myself back from loan, and that was really, we sort of flew from there.
We're in the FA Cup final. What I'd love to know is half time in the extra time part of that final. Palace are winning 3-2. What did Steve Coppell say in that team talk? And at any point in that team talk, did you think that you were going to win the FA Cup?
No, I mean, that was the magical thing about that squad and Stevie Coppell. We did believe we could win. And we dared to dream, and that's what Steve just kept our feet on the ground. Steve was a real pragmatic, sensible, you know, manager. He didn't get too high, didn't get too low. And although it was against his Man United side, you know, Steve just gave us the belief, like he did in the semi-final. It was very calm, very collected. He was just like, guys, you have got everything in your locker to go and win this game, and it's down to you. Let's go and make this happen, and just keep doing what we were doing. And unfortunately, you know, Mark Hughes, it was just through Gary O'Reilly's legs, through Nigel Martin's leg, just no.
It was cruel.
No.
Was there any parallels? Because 1990, you're a player playing the FA Cup final. 2016, you're a coach, and you're getting to experience this from Steve Coppell's side. How did you feel that day? That was
the craziest. It's the craziest thing, because obviously, I mean, I love the club, and I just loved my time as a player. It really was so magical in the sense where we got to 2 semi-finals of FA Cups, 1 final. We won the Zenith Data, which is another magical day at Wembley. I was lucky enough to score. You know, there was always something happening every year. You know, we went down as the 4th team from bottom. You know, or we were winning the championship as it is then. You know, with Gareth and Chris Armstrong and Coleman and Shawsey. So you know, there was always something happening every year.
It was a great time to support Palace.
It was incredible, and to have had my time, and I think after the 2 injuries and and I'd been through my 2 teams of the Wrights and Bryce and then the Chris Armstrongs and the Southgates, I did genuinely just think it was time for me to move on. And then, you know, sort of I coached at the 13s, coached at the 16s, and then obviously for Pardew to give me the opportunity to come back in as first team coach was just magical. it was just amazing because I really thought that had passed me by. Really, it wasn't going to happen, and of course it just turned into an incredible year. You know, incredible season. The first half of the season we couldn't do anything wrong. You know, we got to Anfield, won. We went to Chelsea and won. We were 5th in the league. I can remember, I think Balassi and Chung-Yo Lee scoring at Stoke turn of the year, and we were 5th. And I think Connor Wickham got injured and Balassi got injured in that game, and Chung-Yi went off to Korea. I think his missus was having a baby, and we sort of went into the new year and we can win a game. You know, we were drawing. You know, I remember the last ditch Benteke penalty for Liverpool when Damien Delaney brings down Benteke and he sort of goes down like. So, you know, we had this run in the cup. Well, we beat Stoke in the cup. We beat Southampton. You know, and then we beat Spurs.
Yeah, indeed.
And you know, and I think after we beat Spurs, we started thinking, okay, come on, and that was our philosophy. And funny enough, you asked me, I always went into the FA Cup believing that we could go and do well in it. And of course, I mean, as I say, I got to 2 semi-finals, lost to Man United in one, and then beat Liverpool in the other one. And you know, in all the cup competitions, we always believed, but the FA Cup was always special. And this is the really weird thing. So, as a coach, I still had the same. Yeah, we can do this, and that was always the talking to the players. And when you're with the players, you try to give them that. You know, try to get them believing. And it's just psychologically, if you can dare to dream, it does happen. And beating Watford in the semi was just so magical. And you know, I can remember I literally went round the whole of the palace and it was just so brilliant. And then obviously the final is like, I think the semi-final was Heartbreak Ridge because it's at Wembley. It was weird because getting the semi-final is all about getting to Wembley.
Yeah.
And if you lost at Villa Park or at
it was maybe more.
We used to play at Hillsborough. It was. But at least in the FA Cup, you got the suit. You got you got Wembley. You got. Like, we made the song back then.
Yeah, well, I wanted to touch on that. Can you remember what the opening verse or line of Where Eagles Fly is?
Is that the B-side?
It is, because I think we're Glad All Over. We might re-recorded Glad All Over. I've definitely got it on vinyl.
Right, well, I'm going to say, I'm a little bit, I think I enjoyed doing that song a little bit too much. But it was, I think, if I remember rightly, people never gave us a chance. But we proved them wrong.
That is amazing.
You're
very close.
We were wasting our time.
Wow.
But we were strong.
You really were into that
song. Oh, was it? Because the crowd made a winning sound. I know that. I think I know. Is that not the opening?
It's very close. Crystal Palace, where eagles fly. People never gave us a chance, but we proved them wrong. They say we're wasting our time, but we were strong because our fans made a winning sound. It was echoing around the ground.
Crystal Palace.
But I mean, I think you've clearly remembered.
With the eagles and we're flying, never give up trying. Gonna hold our heads up high.
I thought you was going to look at me blankly with that question.
I don't remember that like it was yesterday. That's quite sad, isn't it?
Absolute quality.
Oh,
After your successful appearance on The White Factor in 2006, should Strictly or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here come knocking, which show would you choose to go on?
Do you know what? The first year I finished playing at 36, I was offered Strictly. And the weird thing was I just signed a contract with Sky. And literally I just got on board with Sky. And I was thinking about it, I thought, do you know what? I've just signed a contract. If I go to Sky and say, look, I'm going to be busy for the next 6, 7, 8 Saturdays, he's probably just going to go, well, if that's what you want to do, go and do that. So I thought, this is what I want to do for the next sort of 20 years. So I turned it down. And I skirted with the idea of going on Get Me Out of Here, but it's kind of, as the years gone by, it's never really quite happened, and they've chosen someone else. But I sort of half regret the Strictly thing, because that would have been the time for me to do it. Probably fit enough. Probably could have done it and had fun. Which direction that would have taken me, I don't know. But you'll never know. You know, you can't turn back time.
Indeed. Would you trade your 5 England caps to rewrite history and see Crystal Palace win the 1990 FA Cup final?
Oh, that is quite an easy question to answer, actually. Absolutely not. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I think as a kid, talk about daring to dream. I mean, as a kid, growing up in West Brom in Kent, watching Match of the Day, you can't even dream about playing for Palace, let alone playing for England. And but that was the ultimate. The ultimate was pulling on an England shirt, playing at Wembley for England. And I can remember Nigeria. My first call up was from Wales. Terry York, because I was born in Nigeria. My mum's English and my dad was Nigerian. It made me a British citizen, so I could play for Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, or England. And so Terry York called me up for Wales, and I turned him down. And then Nigeria came, and I can remember going to Steve Coppell and saying, "I've had a few chances to go international, Nigeria and Wales," and he's. What do you think? He said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, I want to play for England. He said, and it was funny, it sticks with me, and he said, "Well, you're good enough. You're good enough, so if you want to play for England, you will do." And I walked away and I turned everyone down, and about 6 months later, I got an England call-up, which is it was just incredible. I can remember the phone going and the missus calling, she said, "Graham Taylor's on the phone." And I thought it was Shawsey and the lads messing around. I thought it was Coleman or Shawsey. And I was like, "Yeah, right, okay, Shawsey, what are you?" And it's like, "Oh, no, it's Graham Taylor." I'm like, "Oh, Mr. Taylor." He's like, "Oh, just wanted to let you know you've been called up to the England squad." I was like, bloody hell. No. So, I mean, as much as I'd love to have won that FA Cup, I think the Caps, playing at Wembley against the German side, was everything.
I mean, if you're going to play for England, playing against Germany,
a unified German
side, the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a shame really. I clashed it. I clattered into the post early in that game and kind of really knocked the stuffing out of me a little bit. Not making excuses, but it was magical. It was fantastic, and I look back and I can remember at the time thinking, as I left the stadium, if I never do that again, I've done it. And it was a weird thing, and unfortunately, I went in to get the knee injuries, and although I got back into the English squad, I didn't play again. So it was very sad on one part, but very special, and it's still it's still going to be those caps I'll take with me. Hopefully, I'll get them in the coffee with me when I go.
Should Palace have won the 1990 FA Cup final, what do you think would have happened at Man United? Do you believe that they would have still dominated the 1990s and the Premier League? Do you think that still would have happened?
Do you know what? Every time I meet Sir Alex Ferguson now, he always comes up and says hello, and he's such a gentleman. He's such a fantastic guy and so special. And he remembers those times, and he remembers how special that was. And that was a turning point for Sir Alex, because if we'd have beat them in that final, he would have got the sack from United, and probably the story would have been completely different. And it's just fate, and it's brilliant to see him go on, and he's such a special, wonderful guy, and what he achieved. I mean, Man United were the bane of especially my Palace career. And as much as I admire him and respect them, they are. I can't quite put that Man United shirt on the wall. Because what we're talking about, the final, the semi-final. I think there was other incidents as well. Did we go to the replay where Roy Keane stood on Gareth?
Yeah, that's right.
And we I think we lost.
Draw in the first leg, I think. And, right, John, this, my last question to you now is: do you remember Panini sticker albums?
I do. I used to sort of collect them, but I wasn't religious about it. I wasn't massively.
If there was a page dedicated to John Salako and your sticker is at the top, tell me who would join you on your page. Players throughout your career. I'd like you to select your all-time manager, goalkeeper, defender, midfielder and centre forward.
Just one of each?
One of each.
One of each. Nigel Martin, easy, goalkeeper. Shame really, Steven Grizovic was an absolute star. Marcus Hedman was fantastic goalkeeper. So, Gary McAllister was phenomenal, but obviously we're looking at Andy Gray and Jeff Thomas. Can you choose international strikers?
Anybody?
Because I did make a couple of goals for Gary Lineker, but no, I'd have to choose Righty up front. Just all round an absolute legend, but player, funny. The one that stands out, and I'm going to go for it, is a lad called Richard Rufus, who I played with at Charlton, and he was unbelievable. He was amazing. He was the best centre half that's around, and I think Charlton achieved a lot of what they did because of him, and a great lad, really nice lad. So it's between Smithy and Coppell really, and I would say, and we had success under both. I had success under both, and I love both, and Smithy has always been a father figure and just an absolutely incredible human being, but I've got to go for Stevie Coppell. Just an absolute genius, didn't say too much, white lines. But, you know, the things he did say to me, I think what he did with us, he gave us our heads, he gave us a freedom and a confidence to play, he gave us basics, and the little bits, pearls of wisdom, and just the calmness and the tactical genius and keeping it simple, and just giving us an opportunity to grow and train and play together was fantastic. And it was the most special time I had in my career was under Steve. So, Stevie Coppell, thank you.
In the Panini sticker book, we've got Nigel Martin in goal, Richard Rufus in defence, Gary McAllister midfield, Ian Wright as the centre forward, and Steve Coppell as your manager.
Yeah, absolutely.
John Salako, thanks very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.